Yo, what's up? Inside BJJ is back going live in this. Oh, shit, that's terrible. Look at that. Let me fix that. Yo, there it goes. Yeah, so uh, we got Kevin Crane's going to call in a little bit here. Been going back and forth with him, trying to get him set up to come on, talk a little jujitsu. I have some questions for Kevin Crane. I think I formed maybe a bias opinion against him based on watching some of his previous matches, just seeing bits and pieces. I'm not acting like I did this thorough analysis and looked real deep into the mind and psyche of Kevin Crane. I didn't do any of that. I did none of that. I just watched clips and reels. That's all I did. And that's all you're doing too. So, I basically use the internet as my research and Reddit as the editors. So I think I had an opinion about him a little bit, like maybe he's a hothead or maybe he's a showboat or a little bit arrogant. But then I started kind of like paying closer attention and listening to some of the stuff he was saying and watching some of the stuff he's done. And I didn't quite have the same opinion after seeing that. So I'm pretty interested in chatting with him just to get to know him a little bit and check in on what he's doing and all that jazz. Want to remind you guys to check out our sponsors of the show. We'll be right back after this word from Salt Electrolytes.
Being able to complete the climb to mastery requires the proper nutrition. This is why it's important to take in a potent blend of electrolytes that is in tune with your output and brings strength to your goals. This potent blend is only found in Salt Electrolytes. Salt targets your depleted electrolyte levels with a boost of hydration and health. It gives your body the baseline recovery it needs.
Yeah. Make sure you check out Salt. Use the discount code inside BJJ15, save 15% at checkout. So we'll be checking in with Kevin Crane in just a few minutes here. In the meantime, man, my entire life has been dominated with high school wrestling. It feels like lots of high school wrestling. My youngest son, Nate, is wrestling his senior year and it's winding down. He's trying to make it to state. And it's been a lot of weekends filled with watching a lot of folk style wrestling, which actually has been a ton of fun. I feel like I've learned a lot just from watching these kids wrestle. And sometimes I'll pull my son aside and I'll go, why aren't you trying to do like a butterfly sweep, man? Like, why do you turn your back when they're trying to take you down? Like, why do that? Just hit that butterfly sweep, man. You got that. But then, you realize that the level of resistance and the type of resistance they're seeing is a little bit different than what we see in jiu-jitsu, but I still think there's pretty good opportunity to use a lot of the things we do in jiu-jitsu in wrestling and vice versa. So I've had a lot of fun doing that, but dang, we got a comment from I love this, from Michael Monroe. Who are you? Hello. This guy's like slumming on the internet on a Thursday night. Oh, wow. And then we got Thinking's Lair. The King's. I'm an idiot. The Kingslayer. Woohoo. Woohoo to you, buddy. So we've been spending a lot of time watching wrestling, being around wrestling culture, which I find wildly fascinating, especially because it's similar to jiu-jitsu culture, but different. It's like your cousins that live in another state. They're part of your family, right? They're part of your family, but they're not like you. They're just like, they're kind of like you. You know what I'm saying? So, that's what wrestling and jiu-jitsu, the cultures are like. They're like cousins, right? They're culture cousins. Not quite the same though. Both the cultures have their resident tough guys, though. And this guy is between 40 and 60, let's say. They're usually on the older side. And you could tell they're still lifting. They do a lot of heavy lifting. You could tell that, you know, they're doing the new age cocktail, TRT, Ozempic, and peptides, right? They are fully set up on that, and they're going balls to the wall, and they're yoked, and they walk around, and they're like, and they usually have some kind of rough looking t-shirt, like some message on there. Everyone's like, what? We're gonna get some. And I'm like, man, then I feel that, and you know, I'm like, I gotta represent, you know, so then I gotta take my sweatshirt off and like make sure I have the t-shirt that's real tight so it shows my guns, and I walk around a little bit, maybe arm drag one of the kids when they walk by. But it's a pretty funny culture. My favorite is the dude, and I bet every tournament has this guy, the dude who has the t-shirt press, and he's just hustling shirts right there at the tournament. Anything you want him to say. Yeah, he's got all the predefined stuff. My kid's a wrestler. Wrestlers are built different. All that stuff, right? Whatever. But then, you know, you can get custom stuff like, you know, your kid sucks. Have them press that, like something like that. You slip them a little money on the side. But those dudes are at every tournament, man, and they're slinging t-shirts. I have not seen that in the jiu-jitsu world. People come with pre-made shit. Nobody's slinging it. Maybe once or twice you'll see a guy making it, and everyone's like, "Oh, he not real. He don't even have inventory. He makes it." But I like that part of wrestling culture. It's been a real pleasure to watch my son wrestle and benefit from all the hard training. And it's not just like the training. You have to watch your diet. You have to be very aware of multiple aspects of your life. And it seems to have benefited him really greatly. Yo, what is up, Rodolfo? Greetings from Honduras. That's dope, man. You know, speaking of Honduras, the problem with Mexican food in Nashville is that it won't be like Mexicans cooking the Mexican food. It'll be like Venezuelans or Hondurans cooking what they think you think Mexican food is, instead of just making Honduran food or Venezuelan food, which would be a hit and it would be dope. They're like, oh, these people only like Tex-Mex, you know, so they make their version of it. And it's like, no, that's not what we want. We want the real stuff. Rodolfo said that's racist. You know what I'm saying, big dog? Look, man, I would much rather have a Honduran dude make me some authentic Honduran food. You know what I'm saying? And like get down on that, than him make me some KFC because he thinks that's what I like. Speaking of KFC, I got to get this off my chest. We went to some friend's house for the Super Bowl, just catching you up on the shit I've been doing. And I know you're kidding, Rodolfo. Rodolfo's been a longtime listener, follower of the hijinks of this program. It's good hearing from you, man. So we went down to a friend's house for the Super Bowl, and we're like, okay, man, we're going to go to the Super Bowl, and we're going to bring some food. We're going to do yada, 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 all this stuff. Okay, great. And my wife and I are like, well, we got to bring something. What are we going to bring? We're like, I don't know. What are we going to bring? You going to make something? I don't want to make something. It's Super Bowl. I don't want to cook today. Whatever. Just get this, get that, get this. We're naming all these things. We go through all the usual characters. I go get Panda Express for everyone. You want me to get Panda? Let's bring a fucking carton of orange chicken. Or you want me to go to Publix and get a big ass sandwich, some giant ass sandwich. We'll have them cut up. Publix makes good things. All these things. Everything's no. So I'm like, you know what? I was thinking when I was a kid, we would have these church potlucks, and the low effort move for the church potluck, but to still like save face and look good. Like I brought something, so you're not showing up empty handed. You can't show up with a little fucking sandwich size Tupperware with some fruit salad you made 3 weeks ago. Don't be that guy at the church. Nobody likes that guy at the church potluck. Don't be that guy. The move is hit KFC up on the way home, get a bucket of chicken. And I was like, oh, no brainer. Let's bring a bucket of chicken. This is my theory about KFC. KFC is like a boat. You don't want to own a boat. You want a friend that owns a boat. So you got to deal with the headache of the boat, but you get to enjoy the boat. You don't want to admit that you want to go get KFC, but you're happy when your friend shows up with a bucket of KFC. You will definitely take a piece. 100%. You're reaching that hand into that bucket, and you don't want no fucking like lame drumstick. You want a big thigh. You don't want to break into that thing. You want 7 layers of breading on that, just the Colonel ordered originally. That's exactly how you want to do it. So we went there. We're like, we're going to get a bucket of chicken. We're going to take it to the Super Bowl party, pull up to the drive-thru. KFC tells me, bro, it's going to be an hour before we can make you a bucket of chicken. And I'm like, okay, wait a minute. I already feel like a piece of shit for going to KFC. How bad am I going to feel if I have to wait in this drive-thru line for 60 minutes to get this bucket of chicken? So that was a bust, man. We hit up Waldo's Chicken instead and brought some famous Waldo's chicken. Yeah, man. Rodolfo's been a day one inside BJJ guy. Shout out to Big MF. Big MF. I chatted with him earlier today. We talk just about every day, maybe every other day, somewhere around there. But yeah, so been doing a lot of fun stuff, trying to keep the hustle going, man. Just trying to keep it surviving, keep it moving, and do the best that I can. Got a lot of weight on my shoulders, running 2 gyms, still working quite a bit. It's a grind, and all the other things that we do, right? And we do those things because we love them. But you have to remind yourself that, and tell yourself that, and feed yourself that. If you feed yourself the bad stuff, it's real easy to get off track, man. It's super easy, because once your mind starts to fixate on it, then it's rough. But he's doing pretty good. It was great talking to him. It looks like Kevin Crane has joined us. I can see him backstage. I am going to jump him on the show. Let me see how I do this. Hey, what's up, Kevin?
What's up, Sam? How's it going?
It's going well, man. It's good to chat with you, dude.
Yeah.
So, man, I got to be honest with you. Because I brought this up right at the lead of the show. I think I maybe misunderstood you, to be real, not just to play off the documentary, but I have never done thorough investigation into like who's Kevin Crane and Watchdog, but I've seen a lot of Instagram reels and just little highlights in this, and a lot of the times it looks like you're hot dogging a little bit. And I'm like, who's this dude? This guy is like, this guy, dude. Who is this guy right here? But you're doing well at the same time. So if you're hot dogging and you're losing, then it's like, okay, this guy's a moron. But however, I started digging a little deeper, started listening to some of the stuff you were saying, watching some more stuff about you. And now my opinion's like, I don't know, man. I want to actually talk to this guy and get to know him a little bit. I think it's easy to judge somebody based on the things you see in a 5-second highlight, but that doesn't really give you any substance on who the person is, man. So I'm real happy to have you on today.
Yeah. Thank you. I really appreciate it. It's a pleasure. Always trying to get out, inspire, motivate, and create the masses and share my story, Might as well.
So tell me a little bit about your story. When you grew up, did you grow up on the Central Coast? Is that where you grew up?
Yeah, I was born and raised in Santa Barbara, Goleta, California.
And go ahead, bud.
Hometown. Oh, same hometown as Jeff Glover and Bill Cooper. So
yeah, that's what I found wildly interesting. I'm like, wait a minute, this is the same area. So I listened to your story about kicking a kid in the head in the office at school, and I really did appreciate the fact that you said, I'd never kicked anyone in my life. I don't know what I was thinking. I just cracked him. But you started training jiu-jitsu. Where did you start training? Was it Paragon or was it somewhere else in Santa Barbara?
So it was Gracie Baja Ventura at the time, the owner, Fabio Leopoldo. He's a old school high-end and Henzo Gracie black belt. So I had a couple of friends that had started at the Gracie Baja in Santa Barbara right before I moved away. And then when I moved to Ojai and Ventura, I looked up Gracie Baja Ventura, and sure enough, there was an academy there that I didn't know anything about Paragon or Frangia, but I knew about Gracie Bajas and how they were kind of like the franchise of jiu-jitsu. So I started training with Fabio when I was 15 years ago. So
At 15 years old, that puts you like in ninth or 10th grade, somewhere around there.
yeah, 10th grade. Yeah.
10th grade. And you roll into jiu-jitsu. Did you have a wrestling background?
No wrestling, yeah, just football from 8 years old and baseball, basketball, normal American sports. But I was a huge Stone Cold and The Rock fan when I
Okay,
was
nice.
little. Yeah, and
Yeah, that was a good era to be a fan too.
yeah, I broke two of my mom's beds. Busted the springs through the top of them from. I would just sit in there for hours and slam the teddy bear and visualize suplex and moves over and over. So
Yeah, I think that was definitely a part of my childhood growing up was simulating matches on if you had a big stuffed animal like these big ass ones,
yeah,
man, you could wrestle that. You could do a whole Royal Rumble with that thing, man. You could have them play all 30 guys, you know. That was a good time. So, were you used to the physicality of grappling because you played football?
yeah. I was always a defensive player, and my job and mission was always to kill the quarterback and get the ball back for us. And yeah, definitely developed a lot of body awareness and understanding leverage about keeping your head lower than the other guy's head so you could get underneath him and get the tackle or be more dominant in the position.
So was there any like hesitancy in training, or were you just full on you wanted to do it? Was there any fear or just a little bit like, damn, what am I getting myself into?
Yeah, I saw Chuck Liddell was like the on the all-time high and like the god of UFC and MMA during 2006, and I was like, man, I could for sure do that and be better than that. So why not apply myself and go all in? And obviously, jiu-jitsu takes a lot more time and energy to put in to master, I think, than the striking aspect of martial arts. So I knew that jiu-jitsu was where I needed to start, what I needed to put more time in, and where I needed to begin. Yeah.
And how were you received in terms of like when you came in? Um, what was your approach, and then how did they kind of work with you in the beginning?
Yeah, I worked like I was 15. I did one day of tree work for my uncle. Paid $100 cash, and then never went back. Went to the academy, and I think at the time they were charging 170 a month. But Fabio and the other owners like must have talked about me after I left, and they sponsored me and just charged me $100 cash at the beginning. And I used to take the bus 1 hour one way from Ojai to Ventura, and I never thought that it would lead me to this point in my life. Having jujitsu be my main identity and my whole life invested into it, and it saved my life. Like you hear so many people say, and every time that I got away from it, my life started to go downhill. Whether it was alcohol, drugs, and I'm just so happy to be where I am today. Sober and completely immersed in martial arts once again.
How critical was it when you came in that they saw something in you that they were willing to chat together and go, hey, let's cut this kid a break? Like this, we think he really wants to do this.
Oh yeah, man, I'm forever and eternally grateful to my professor Fabio and whoever else put that idea in his head, because I never thought that I was going to be competing at a world class level, or I just was doing it because I loved it and I wanted to get good at it. Yeah, I'm not even quite sure. I think I was getting bullied. I got bullied when I first moved to Ojai and was a small kid, 5'3" as a freshman. Didn't hit puberty till I was like 16 years old. And so I just, super shy when I was on the mat and didn't really talk to anyone in the academy starting off, and now the complete opposite. Like, but yeah, it gave me so much confidence and just changed my whole life.
It's interesting, and it's kind of refreshing to hear it, because as a school owner, there's a majority of the times where you go like, hey man, you can't afford it, or things are whatever, just come, man. Like, I just want you to come. If I don't charge you or I give you some crazy discount, then I want you to be here, dude. Like, show up.
Yeah.
Many folks still kind of won't take advantage of that.
Yeah.
But every once in a while somebody does, and it's super impactful. And I think that's why coaches do it, is for cases like yourself. They're hoping that they can make a difference. Like, yeah, everyone's got to pay the bills. You got to pay the bills at the end of the day. You can't let everyone train for free or at a discount or whatever. Definitely, that's part of the business. But at the same time, I think it's fair to say most people running gyms really have something in their heart to try to help the people that are coming to the gym.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, being of service and helping change people's lives in a positive way is just, like, I think, so fulfilling in one's heart.
So how do you make the transition from being, 15 years old, you're in a new town, right? To adulthood. How do you go 15 to 20? Like, what is that like for you?
Well, I had the amazing opportunity to get to play high school football again, because I was a dropout in Santa Barbara, all F's freshman year. Both parents were like homeless, living on the East Beach in Santa Barbara, in and out of rehab, jail, and then moving to live in Ohio with my aunt and uncle was like so crucial and imperative to my transformation. And then I get the opportunity to join the high school football team after doing 6 months of homeschooling and learning jiu-jitsu and getting into martial arts. And then I went back to public school and was able to play high school football again, which was my first identity, my first love, and from 8 years old. And then I led the team to the first CIF championship in the 100-year history of the little town in Ohio, my senior year. So I used to watch the movie Friday Night Lights every Friday night with my uncle who raised me before the Saturday morning games, and to manifest like a life that not, somewhere near like that incredible of a story was just like so fascinating, and so much like power, and like, I don't know, what part of God's plan, this masterful plan that, like, if you would have told me that when I was like 8 or 10 years old that was going to happen, like, I could have never dreamed of something better or miraculous like that to come to fruition in my life.
When does a young Kevin Crane, obviously you came from some hardship, right?
Yeah.
For sure. When do you come into your own personal battles and challenges? When does that happen, and kind of what form does that come in?
Yeah, both of my parents were heroin addicts and eventually meth, and now they're both deceased. My mom died 2 nights before my first amateur fight. My dad died from fentanyl during the beginning of COVID and that pandemic. And I never got into hard drugs or had a problem with alcohol my entire life, but I did smoke weed every day from like 13 to 19 years old. Maybe 11.
That's a stretch. Yeah. That's a stretch, man. Damn.
Yeah, my brother, shout out to my brother. He's 13 years sober now and motivational speaker and life coach. But he gave me my first bomb hit when I was like 8.
I'm sorry, man.
So I was doomed from the beginning, in a shitty upbringing, negative environment. But that's what molded the character and the monster and the beast within me, and created this beautiful human that I developed this, mindset to never give up, overcoming all this adversity. But yeah, marijuana is what I used as like a crutch, I guess, and a vice as a form of escapism, to escape all the trauma and everything that I didn't want to deal with, that I didn't know that I was that I was exposed to as a young child. So then I quit smoking when I started pursuing UFC and MMA, because nothing's worse than getting tired when another man's trying to knock you out in front of
Yeah.
the whole world, you know. And I wasn't really like didn't realize how big of a change that I was making, you know. And then I became the high rollers champion, which was the prize was a pound of
Yeah.
weed, you know. And I started getting all these cannabis sponsors, and they're paying me to compete and wear their logo. I got a custom made bong, you know, like that says Crane on it. If you would have told me that when I was 10 years old, I would have. Yeah, so
You
that,
wouldn't have
and
believed
then
that either. You're going to be a
yeah,
martial artist and they're going to pay you with weed. What?
yeah, you know, and then I had like all this money, made a bunch of money in the stock market, and had all this weed and whatever. And then my dad died from fentanyl, and I just realized, man, you got to get sober and you got to go all in on your talent, dude. God has gifted you with, and you have so much potential to be, you know, one of the greatest fighters in mixed martial arts, or I mean MMA or jiu-jitsu in the world. So if you're not going all in on that dream and that gift, you're disrespecting every second that you're not spending towards that, and you're going to be punished, you know, which led to me going to jail for domestic violence, and just had a lot of unresolved trauma and character defects that I've been working on still to this day. And it's a battle that continues every day, you know, of good versus evil, and just not listening to all the fake thoughts from the devil, the fear, the doubt. It's all an illusion, you know. You got to just lean into your faith and be willing to die, and you'll achieve stuff that you never thought was possible, you know.
How do
Like,
you keep the momentum moving forward from day to day? And what I mean is this is there just the fact that we're mortal and we're here, you know, lightning
yeah,
fly, electricity goes out of the sky and hits people in the head sometimes, you know, and it's like, dude, you didn't expect that to happen today. Some days you wake up and your brain is like, dude, what the hell, man? Why am I in such a foul mood? Like, I just opened my eyes and I feel not that great. And then other days you open your eyes and you feel fantastic. Regardless, you still have to keep that presence and you got to keep moving forward and stay motivated. How do you carry that momentum from day to day?
yeah. I think the motivation definitely comes and goes. Like after my dad died from fentanyl, I'd never been more motivated in my life. Did that 100-mile run, took me 34 hours, and made a documentary. It's called 100 Miles or Die, because you know you got all these like nerds and scientists and doctors and the whole different community of the
Yeah.
ultra marathon and endurance events, and then here comes this crazy fighter and jujitsu guy, and not a runner, but wanted to show everyone that it's all in the mind. So I was just yelling 100 miles or die the whole time, and you know, and that's the mindset that got me to the finish line, is the or die mindset. And yeah, it's just, you know, the motivation will come and go, but I think staying gratitude, and or staying in the state of gratitude and staying grateful, you know, just that you wake up and your eyes, you know, and you're healthy, and you get a fresh breath of air in your lungs, and you know you get another chance at life, you know, another day, and you got to wake up so stoked and just be in that vibration, because then you're going to attract good things, you know, because
Do you
it's all about.
have do you have a morning routine or just a something you tell yourself or something you do every day when you start your day?
I've been more focused at times, and like right now, I'm doing the gratitude list in the morning, or starting off with like a meditation. But lately, I've been so run down. I think from like overtraining. I've been on this late schedule, training super late, eating, fasting all day, and then eating at like 10 to midnight, and then I'm going to bed at like 1 or 2. So I've been trying to sleep in just to let my body recover a little more. But definitely, I think that would be like the last piece to the puzzle for getting me to the next level of my journey of self mastery, is like sticking to a morning routine and being disciplined with that every day. That way, I'm not so all over the place, you know.
Yeah, no, I'm asking you because I'm looking for a solid morning routine. And sometimes I'll have a couple things that I do and then it'll slide and I'll start doing something
Yeah,
else. I'm going to tell you what I'm considering. out at our gym out here, 10th Planet Nashville, we have a morning class that I got one of the, so my son wrestles in high school. He's wrestling his senior year. One of the dads of one of the other kids used to wrestle, and he's always talking to me about wrestling and jiu-jitsu. So I'm like, dude, you got to come to the morning class. It's a bunch of dudes that are like in our age range. They're all getting after it in the morning. They're happy to be there. They're motivated. So I've been going down there on Tuesday mornings, meeting him there, just like kind of like holding his hand through it, but he wrestled and it's coming back to him. He's just not in great shape, Yeah. But I realized like these guys that come to the morning class, they come every day and they're super bummed if it's a holiday. Sometimes they have class anyway because it's become part of their morning. And if they don't do it, it's not right. Like something's off. So I think jiu-jitsu's done so many positive things for me. I'm thinking maybe I just put it on jiu-jitsu and just start going to the morning class and just make that my morning routine.
Yeah. I mean, we're such creatures of habit. I'm sure after starting the day off with another man trying to choke you and creating that forced presence is probably one of the greatest ways to start the day, because then after dealing with that hour of adversity during the training, everything that will arise throughout your day, I'm sure will be a piece of cake,
Yeah. And maybe it's a little bit not taking full responsibility for your morning, but I don't teach the morning class. So all I got to do is just show up and do what Carl tells me to do. Just do the class. You know what I mean? And that's my morning routine. But maybe I'm shirking my responsibility a little bit of being like in control. You know what I'm saying?
It's nice getting to go back to staying in the student mindset rather than being the head professor and having to look over the class and make sure everyone's acting accordingly and doing what they're supposed to be doing and improving, because you're there leading and you're the coach and the professor. I prefer to stay the student until I'm like 50, and then,
I'm creeping up on 50, dog. So I feel you.
Yeah, because I want to go with the mindset like I have to kill everybody, like I'm the best, like competition mindset, not like I'm the old master that like overlooks everyone and makes sure I'm the instructor. I'm there for them. I'm not there for myself. But when I'm going for training, it's there for self-improvement.
Do you ever jump in on just like a general class where there's just general population in there?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. I mean,
how do you approach your training with them?
Yeah, it's tough, like as far as in the 805, I don't really have anyone. Like I have a couple of friends who are like world-class black belts or like not world-class, but like high-level black belts that still compete, that are tough, that want to have like those dog rounds, like fight to the death, like wars. But most people are just hobbyists. And like, that's why I got so into the running in the mountains, because I don't want to have to lower my frequency to train with people that don't even want to train with me because I just beat them every time or tap them without even trying. So it's actually a tough like dilemma. I'm like, fuck this. I'm going to go run in the mountains and just fight Kevin Crane for 2 hours on this trail run, and really tap into, the mental training as far as that goes, But
yeah, I imagine as you start to get better and you start to progress in the competitive circuits, your training partners become more important to you, and the level of guys you're training with becomes important, at least to have access to that level, right? It's like not the end of the world if you do a few rounds with a guy that's not that great, he's a hobbyist, and you're getting some movement in, you're playing the game. As long as you have access to high level training partners. How big of a challenge was that to you? I mean, you're pretty close to Southern California. It's not like there's, no training partners in the area.
Yeah. I mean, when I go down to San Diego and train at Jocko Spot at Victory, they got like 4 no-gi classes a day, a lot of Navy SEALs, and they're tough guys. That facility is incredible. And then you have, Autos and Legion and a lot more talent down in San Diego than up here in the Central Coast. But yeah, it's tough for me to find anyone around here that's at my level. So, I mean, I know John Danaher says that 90% of your training should be with people actually inferior to you. So that makes me feel a lot better, because that's about the ratio of my training, And
it doesn't make you feel better if you suck, though.
Yeah. Yeah, it's tough, but I just I like to train hard, it's probably one of my downfalls is overtraining, being like an addict and extremist, I need to always know when to taper it back and just ground myself and not overtrain because I feel like that's how you deserve to win these gold medals or these titles. It's like the Russian philosophy, time and energy, or the Kobe Bryant formula. Think of how many baskets he shot compared to everyone else while they're out partying and clubbing. He puts so much time in to be the best. That's why he was the best. It's no like secret formula. He was just obsessed. So I've been trying to drill more lately and just less like super hard rounds, but just upping my technicality and becoming more of a student of the game again and trying to keep up with all these intellectuals that are in jiu-jitsu now and changing the game with all these new techniques. So
Yeah, you mentioned working hard and putting the time in and the work in. What does that do for your confidence? Because sorry, I'll just say this. I was a mediocre competitor. I wasn't great. I lost some and I won some. And sometimes I showed up and sometimes I did not show up, man, but I competed through all the belt levels and kind of did what I had in my heart to do in terms of that. But there were times I was very confident because I knew I was prepared and I put a lot of work in. And there were other times where I was kind of like, let's see what we got tonight. Cause I don't know. What does it do for your confidence to know that you're putting so much work in?
Yeah, really good question. I mean, I knew when I was going for the second year in a row at the World Championships for the USA grappling team, I had a different identity that I created because I had the belief that I could become world champion because I won the World Championships in 2022 in Spain. So I didn't have a single point scored on me. And I was so focused for that. I didn't jerk off for like 6 months.
You went no fap. You wanted it so bad you went no fap.
Yeah, I had to level up. I had to do something different. Fuck, I wasn't winning when I was just smoking weed and eating donuts. So.
That's great, man.
And I'm pretty sure I don't know what everyone else's training camp and agenda was like for their 6 months leading up to the World Championships. But man, I knew I was ahead of everyone, that I put in more time and energy and won my internal battles of defeating the temptations of the matrix that we live in, and then the next year in Poland, I was training like 4 times a day, like pushing my body to new limits, like running in between lunch and night practice, going to the sauna, cold plunge just to rejuvenate my body for the last session, and then running again at night just to break myself so that I could feel confident, like that I really was giving it everything that I had, And sure enough, it paid off, knowing that you have that extra gear when the other guy's just starting to break. It's one of the greatest things that we can control in the fighting is having better conditioning and more gas in the tank in the later rounds, especially in when it comes down to the wire.
It's really become more apparent to me, and I wish I would have learned this lesson when I was younger, that when you can be disciplined, whether it's with what you're eating, what you're watching, what you're saying, what you're reading, what you're doing, you get empowerment from that. And when you can bring your own nature into discipline, you become so empowered. You start believing you could do things that previously you may not have believed you could accomplish. Like it might have been a dream. Like I want to win, man. I want to be the champ. But kind of in your heart, like I'm kind of like fudging on the details a little bit. I could be doing more. Maybe I'm not doing anything bad, but I know I could be doing more. And when you can do those extra things, it kind of gives you a superhuman power, I think.
Yeah, it truly does. It's hard for me I ran that 100 miles for 34 hours straight. Like I can for sure do another round. I can for sure do another round and open that, another 6-minute round. Like who am I lying to? Like I'm lying to
what was going through your head, man?
I'm trying to get, I don't know, just, I feel like I was on an interdirected mission. Just God had me on this calling, to show people that you can do anything. And you hear all these stories, like humans are absolutely incredible what they can accomplish. It just starts with an idea in the mind, and then they take action, and then they keep building more and more confidence. And then eventually they complete their goal and achieve their dream. And it all comes down to the self-belief and the confidence. So if you have that unwilling belief that anything is possible, it truly is, and staying in that mindset of like dreaming and miracles and cultivating them. And it's so powerful. Like, it's contagious, that positive energy. People love that shit. They get around me and they're like working out in the gym. Like, are you really working out, or are you just pretending to work out? Like, you're fucking like, like, you have, like, what is the effort you're giving? 70, 80, 90? Is it really 100? Like, and I'm convinced, I just wrote this post, I'm convinced if you don't die while you're doing it, then you're really not giving it your all, which is like so deep and so profound and so intense at the same time. But that's like the mindset that you have to cultivate.
Yeah, I think there's definitely a huge advantage to being all in.
Yeah.
And many of the most inspirational stories we hear are from people that were all in, even to their own detriment. Like, they were going to take it as far as they had to take it to get what they were trying to get or do what they were trying to do. What is your advice, though, for the dude that sits at a desk all day and he's got 3 kids and he's been married for 19 years and he just started jiu-jitsu a year ago because he heard, Joe Rogan talking about it, and he signed up and he's listening to you and he's like, I'm going to suck my whole life. I can never be Kevin Crane. What's your advice to that guy, man?
That's a tough one. I can't relate really, but I would just say, everyone's on their own journey and has their own different personal goals. And yeah, we could always do better. You got to just improve 1%. But yeah, I don't have kids, so I don't have that responsibility.
You laugh. You're like, oh my God.
Yeah.
What is, so let me ask you this. Is jiu-jitsu for everyone?
Yes and no. I'm pretty sure everyone needs to train it, but will everybody survive? No, for sure not. There's wolves and there's sheep, and we need the sheep because the wolves need to eat, And yeah, but obviously you want to be the wolf and you want to do the killing, not be killed. So it's super important to be first, because if you're not first, you're last. So when I go easy on these blue belts and then all of a sudden they get an arm and they start cranking my arm, that's why it's tough to roll easy. You don't want to get hurt, and you want to be the hammer, not the nail. So it's really tough. It's not easy, but yeah, everyone should train at least for a couple of years to have the self-defense to be able to protect their family and themselves.
Yeah. I still think that jiu-jitsu can be a very enjoyable martial art for people to do, as long as they're realistic about it. And even with self-defense, it needs a touch of realism, because it's like, yo, dude, you're practicing these moves and you're doing well, but there's some wild ass people on the streets, man. And there's some strong, tough dudes. And if you can't handle what they're going to bring, you find yourself on the wrong side of it, even though you do train and you do kind of know what's up. Like, that was something I learned over the years of having so many new people just come in and roll and just kind of train with people. And there were a couple times where the thought crossed my mind, like, if we were throwing strikes right now, this dude would be jacking my world up. He just doesn't know what the hell he's doing, but way better raw material and kind of crazy. So I think there's a place for casual people to do jiu-jitsu, as long as they're realistic about their expectations and what they're going to get out of it. It's not a secret club anymore. It used to be a secret club, and the only people that did it were kind of tough and crazy. There wasn't too many regular people. You know what I'm saying, though? That's how it used to be.
Yeah, yeah.
So
Now I think it's the fastest growing sport in the world now, right? That and pickleball. It's just the
pickleball.
complete opposite of the spectrum.
The thing that drives me crazy is that pickleball players are making way more than jujitsu athletes. And it hurts. It hurts to see that because they're basically hitting a ping pong ball back and forth with a big paddle on a small tennis court. You know, it's ridiculous, dude. But the barrier is very low to get into pickleball. It's not hard to play.
Yeah, I think that's why the older generation likes it because they can beat the old man can beat the young man, through technique.
Yeah. You could do that with jujitsu though, dog.
I know that's what's so incredible. If you don't know the techniques, you don't stand a chance.
Yeah, absolutely. So you come out, you mentioned your brother, and I wanted to ask you about your brother and if you could talk about what was his role in your life. When you're 15 and you're kind of going through these changes. You mentioned that he got into some trouble, but sounds like he's doing completely total 180 now, and has been for a while. Can you just talk about that?
Yeah, I guess when I was 15, 16, he got charged with a attempted murder for a stabbing that he didn't do. And then he had to do 6 years in prison and take a deal. And during that time, I guess he used that incarceration to really change his life in a positive way, by finally educating himself, reading and journaling and writing nonstop and developing a morning routine. And he got really into running in there and came out and did a couple triathlons, then did an Ironman, and then he signed up for the 100-mile race. That's the only reason I ever accomplished that is because the little brother wanted payback for him bullying me my whole life, beating me up. He was my first coach, first training partner. We used to wrestle. He taught me how to box a little bit. And then when he signed up for the 100-mile race, I was like, you know what? If I'm going to help him do the last 50 miles, like being the pacer throughout the night, I might as well do the whole thing and try to beat him, And sure enough, at mile 30, he started shitting blood. He had blood in his stool. So then he had to give up. He got a DNF, and I ended up. I brought my buddy out, my friend. His dad was a big time movie producer in New York, and I brought him out to film the documentary about my brother to continue tell it, so he can continue telling his story and the transformation that he's made in his life. And then the whole thing ended up being about me, entitled 100 Miles or Die. And it was pretty incredible to go to do something for somebody else. It wasn't about me. I was doing it to help him. And then it ended up being my greatest life accomplishment so far, and the greatest 48 hours of my life, because it was just me winning the internal battle between myself to tell myself to keep going, to not let the fear or the doubt come in and take over and win that battle, but just to lean into faith and commit and achieve that goal. So yeah,
Go ahead, sir.
Oh, he's incredible. Yeah, he's a motivational speaker, has a self-mastery group. He's a life coach and helping change men all around the world. He specializes in fathers. He has 3 kids, about to have 4 kids, and he's really dialed and locked in, and I'm just so proud of him, and he's such a positive influence in my life and a role model. So.
What kind of contact did you have with him while he was incarcerated?
I used to visit him in the county jail like every weekend, and then eventually he got shipped off to prison, so I'd only see him like once or twice a year. I actually had a rental car for like a month because my car had broken down, and I used his ID to rent a car because I wasn't 20, I wasn't 25 at the time. So I go in the Hertz rental car at closing, and I use his ID to rent a car, and and then I surprised him in prison on a Saturday. I drove all the way to Arizona and showed up on a Saturday morning to surprise visit him. And sure enough, it was Saturday morning. He was playing basketball in the yard, soaked in sweat. They're like, "Crane, you got a visitor." And I thought that was pretty cool to go and do that. And you only get to talk for 5 hours, and it goes by like a blink of an eye, And Yeah, that's when I finally found out that he didn't do the stabbing because the police read the report like Crane was striking the down opponent. It's all over the newspaper, and if you're not there and witness it with your own eyes, you don't really know what happened. You don't know the truth. But yeah, pretty fascinating story. The guy who actually did the stabbing got out, went into the police department, told the detectives on recording that my brother was innocent, but that was 8 years later, and then that guy killed himself on Halloween a couple
Jeez.
years ago because I'm pretty sure he probably couldn't get over the guilt and shame of almost killing that guy. He sliced the guy's throat ear to ear, and the guy survived somehow, was like pronounced dead and then saved on the operating table.
Wow.
And yeah, I think the guy had my brother. The guy had my brother in full mount. So who knows if that guy was going to stab my brother and the guy actually saved my brother, but then my brother was covered in blood and just like pretty
Yeah.
intense, gnarly shit.
So you see your brother sporadically, obviously I've had a relative who did about 7 years to
Yeah.
a couple stints, and it's not easy, when he gets out, is he a completely different person? And is that impactful to you in an inspiring way? Like, do you see that difference in him?
Oh yeah, for sure. He did one. I got him to get on the mat one day with a gi, but he's like, "No, I'm non-violent now.
You were gonna whoop your big brother, and then he pulled the "I'm retired."
Yeah, I think he couldn't pass the guard of some 50-year-old black belt. I think he just realized I got to devote way too much time if I want to get good at this. So he said, "That's that." But yeah, the day he got out, I took him to Huntington Beach and straight to the ocean, which was pretty incredible. At the time I wasn't really a good surfer. I still am a kook, but I was for sure more of a kook back then. And it was like 8 to 10 foot sets pumping Huntington Beach, Surf City, USA. And we rented boards and paddled out because in his youth he was almost like he tried to become a pro surfer, before he got into
Okay.
drugs and alcohol, but he was really high level surfer. So in my intuition, I was like, oh, he hasn't been in the ocean or he's been to the beach in 6 years. What's better to do that than on the first day back in life, in society? And he was all like awkward, a little institutionalized. But yeah, he paddled out and I saw him dropping on a wave and I just started crying immediately, like so happy that he was free, and it took me 45 minutes to get out and I got washed down all the way to Seal Beach. I came walking up on the beach like an hour later after being washed down 5 lifeguard towers, and
Yeah, that's a minute.
yeah, it took me. I don't think I ever made it out to the lineup, but I tried, and then it was so intense and like humbling. That's why the ocean's so incredible, and I've got really into surfing the last couple of years because the same thing with jiu-jitsu, staying calm under pressure and in life and death situations, being able to make those calculated, correct decisions. And the ocean there's no referee to save you. The ocean will just swallow you up and you're gone.
Yeah. So your brother, that's got to be doing any amount of time, and then now you're free, right?
Yeah.
Now you're out. First day goes to the beach. What's his transition like into just everyday life? And kind of what role are you playing? Is he in the same city as you?
Yeah, he was staying. He went back to like tree work. My uncle has a family tree business, but I said he was having like a nervous breakdown. Like, I can't believe I'm back doing fucking tree work again. I wasn't put on this earth to do that, And then he became a personal trainer. And then once COVID hit, he went all into the online space and just been crushing it there ever since with the online fitness program. And now he's a keynote speaker and motivational speaker and goes around the country and the world telling his story. And he's working his way up there towards the top of the self-development community and space. So.
You guys both have an instinct to go positive when things get really bad.
Yeah, you have to be a delusional optimist. Everyone should think you're absolutely batshit crazy when you tell them your dreams and goals. Otherwise, you're not dreaming big enough. And he was writing letters to me in prison. Man, everything that he wrote in those letters, he's came out and it's happened. Build a family, have a wife, and I could tell that he just cherished the invisible assets. That you don't realize are the only things that matter in life until you hit rock bottom and you're stripped of everything. And it's really really incredible to see. We were studying the same book. He was reading the greatest self-development book, Think and Grow Rich, in
Mhm.
prison. And one of my first managers gave me that book, and that's when I learned about like infinite intelligence and the collective consciousness and how everyone has a major definite purpose on this planet. And most people don't find their purpose, and they're lost for their entire life. They go through hypnotic rhythm, just drifting. But when you find your purpose, you have to go all in on that and make sure that you never deviate from that. Otherwise, you're gonna you're not you're not gonna you're not going to fulfill your purpose on this planet. That's God's gifted you.
Yeah, I think it's regret is a really hard thing for people to live with, and especially regret about not chasing after things you really wish you would have chased after, because age, and then like when you get really advanced age, it gives you perspective because you start to look back and you can see the whole thing. You have a much clearer idea of what your life was and what life is like in general. And I think that's probably one of the deepest pains, is to look back and go like, I did not use my talents. I buried them in the earth. I just like didn't do anything with it. And so there's a certain amount of, gratitude and feeling fortunate that you even have the realization that you have something, that you have a purpose. Because like you're saying, a lot of people are on NPC mode. They're just like
Yeah.
hypnotic rhythm, man, 365 days a year. But every once in a while, people get a wake-up call. And sometimes it's through tragedy, sometimes it's through something else. But it's pretty cool to hear your story. I really appreciate you coming on to share it. What is coming up for you now? Like what have you been doing, and what's coming up next for you?
My manager actually just called me a couple hours ago. I'm going to be back in the cage March 28th in Las Vegas.
Nice.
I forgot the name of the promotion. So it'll be my third pro MMA fight. And then a week from Saturday, I'll be up in Portland doing the ADCC Portland. So,
Oh, nice. So
yeah.
is getting into ADCC next year one of your goals?
Yeah, for sure. I beat Kyle Bame from 10th Planet in like 24 seconds for the Imanari roll, and completely, he was like a good friend of mine, and I felt bad. I like tore his ACL, double buckle handle tear, and I beat him, and then he was in CJI, and he's made a lot more progress in the professional grappling community, but he's not a striker. He's never really trained striking martial arts, and there's guys that do both at the highest levels, but I can like switch stance, fight lefty and righty. And I used to train MMA with some of the best in the world down at King's MMA in Huntington Beach. And I knew that I was able to get to that level and eventually surpass them. I just haven't really trained much MMA here in Ventura and Santa Barbara. So I'm super excited to be getting this fight on March 28th. And my goal is to get to the UFC and win the title. Daniel Cormier didn't start training until he was 30. And he became 2-division champ. And Glover Teixeira didn't win the title till he was 44. So that gives me 14 years still. So,
Nice.
Yeah. So, I mean, that would be an incredible story, right? Like, I could just give up and go work a 9 to 5 and say, oh, I could have been this. I used to be great, but imagine winning the UFC title and not giving up on the dream, how that would inspire and motivate everybody across the world, or a kid that thinks that he can't do it. That's like my mission. My motto is bend but never break. So even if I die and never reach that goal, at least that's what I'll be striving for, and it will keep me going and keep that desire burning within me.
Yeah, and it's not like you're a 30-year-old that just came off the street and you're like, hey, I want to start this. Like, you think I can be UFC champ? Like, maybe if you started at 30 with no, you've been training for 15 years, man. Like, you've been putting work in for a long time. So I think that bodes extremely well for you. Do you feel like the UFC championship and getting to that level is your number one goal? Does that kind of take precedent over any kind of grappling goals that maybe you might have?
Yeah, for sure. It's the biggest platform to get my story out and to inspire and motivate. And yeah, I mean, there's CJI now, obviously that's $1 million, and that's for the money. But I didn't start fighting because I wanted to be rich or for the money. And that's always, every time I fight to win like a tournament for like 3 grand, 5 grand, I always lose because I'm like focused. I'm there to win for the money. Like, fuck the money. And when I die, I'm going to be butt naked with nothing, just like how I came into this world, So winning the USA grappling gold medal was awesome. I didn't get a single dollar from winning that, and getting to travel overseas and meet all these amazing people that are doing the same thing and see the different cultures in the world. That was like priceless, and that was just for the love, and to see how good I can really be. So that's like the main goal, is to just inspire, motivate through my story and show people just to never give up and bend but never break.
How can viewers and listeners get in touch with you or hear more about you?
Instagram, Kevin, remember the name Crane, and Facebook, Kevin Crane. I try to not be on social media too much because, it's just so time consuming, but I love to show people what I'm doing as far as like the health and wellness, the stuff that I've learned through, choosing martial arts as my lifestyle and fitness. And, today's society, there's so much negative shit, with all the bad food and just people with mental illness, anxiety, depression. And I've been depressed. I've had anxiety. So if I can have one person look at me and look at the stuff I do now with the fasting, getting sunlight, doing the grounding, eating healthy, meditation, affirmations, training nonstop, then that fulfills me. I'm helping people and being of service to the world.
Good stuff, brother. Hey, before we go, we got a comment from one of our viewers, Rodolfo Romero. He says, Doctor and Educated Violence, thank you for the inspiration, Kevin. Thank you, Tim, for the curated guest, as always. Man, it was great to have you on, dude. And I really do appreciate you opening up and telling more about your story and just being realistic. I think that above all is the biggest way to get people to listen, is you're just real. You're like, this is my life and this is who I was. And these are the things I did. And this is what I tried. And this is what worked. And this is what did it. That's real versus like, hey, I'm XYZ guy. Everybody's tired of XYZ guy, man. We're over that shit now. So
yeah.
Thanks, Kevin.
Yeah. Thank you.
For sure. Have a good one, brother. Appreciate you, man.
Yeah, appreciate you too.
Thanks. Oh man, that was good stuff, dude. Really fascinating. Everyone that I've ever talked to from the Central Coast area, they've all come out of Paragon. I think Kevin's the only person that I've talked to that's like, nah. I'm sure he crossed paths with the Paragon guys, but I was kind of expecting to hear that. That's why I asked, like, what gym, where did you go? Like, what did you dig into? Nevertheless, I think he was very fortunate that he went where he went because it all worked out in a very good way. And who knows, it might not have worked out somewhere else. So that was good stuff. And I think there's a major lesson there in motivation and discipline. And being motivated is going to come and go sometimes because motivation kind of piggybacks on your emotive system in your body, and your emotions can change. And if you let that totally dictate, it'll put you in a bad state. But if you can be disciplined and physically do the things that you need to do and don't do the things you don't need to do, it can carry you through But discipline's hard. It has to be earned. I don't think you just wake up and you're disciplined. You have to earn it. And you earn that by doing things like going, I know they said to do 10 reps, but I'm going to do 12. I know that I can do this, but I'm going to stay a little longer. I'm going to come a little earlier. I'm going to put a little extra work in. And then you start earning that discipline until you become a disciplined person. The challenge is to not throw the towel in on the way. And it's just like anything else in life. If it's valuable, it's going to take a lot of work and effort to get. And one of the keys that will really help you is it's going to be damn near impossible to achieve your dreams with a negative mindset. It's very, very rare that you see anybody that goes, I did all this work for all these years and I didn't believe in any of it. I thought it was all a crock of shit and that I would fail. Most people that truly kind of have that as the story they're telling themselves, they fail. You never hear from those people because they never get anywhere. So it's not that inspirational. It's not motivational. But having a positive mindset, it's free. This is a choice you make, something you tell yourself. But it requires discipline to do. So good stuff, man. I'm really stoked that there's so many opportunities out there for grapplers now. It's been such a desert for so long in terms of being able to make a living. It's been very scarcity based in the mindset, and it just feels like it's changed so much in the last 5 years, especially in the no-gi world. It's not perfect, and there's still growing pains, and there's still things that are, being sorted out, but it's definitely growing, and the infrastructure is getting stronger, the investment's getting higher. And with that comes opportunity for these guys that are putting serious work in. They're training just as hard, maybe even harder than other professional athletes. Just because the sport is not considered a professional sport doesn't mean they're not professional athletes. And so it's nice to see these guys at least get more opportunity to make a real living at it, and be able to actually support themselves and live a decent lifestyle. A lot of these guys are not living high on the hog, regardless of Gordon Ryan's Instagram. Most of these dudes they're just getting by. They're just getting by. And it's not an easy path. It's still real early on in the development of the sport, but it is encouraging to see that there's more investment coming in. Yeah. So we got the state wrestling, or I'm sorry, we got the sectional. Rodolfo said, "Hey, where's Sonny?" Who knows, man? I don't know, dude. I don't even keep up with the Gordon Ryan saga too much anymore. Just a little bit, but whatevs, dude. I want to watch the grappling. I'm not here for the drama. I'm here for the grappling. I think we got regionals coming up on Saturday, so we'll see how that goes. Hopefully Nate gets top 4, moves on to the state tournament. We'll find out. Either way, still stoked about it. Want to remind you guys, you can check me out on the Bullpen. The Bullpen is, I think, the only real sports show for grappling. And you can catch that on the Grappling Hour YouTube page, as well as Inside BJJ's YouTube page at Simulcast. I do that show with the main host and executive producer, creator, Rafa Sparza, and our co-host, Kevin Sherrill. It's a lot of fun, and we're working out the details for PGF Season 8. Of course, we've been the official pre-show and post-show for that, so we're looking to keep that continuing. But check that out. We'll be doing a show tomorrow, and I think we're looking at starting around 3 p.m. Central Time, somewhere around there. But you can catch us live. But other than that, good stuff. It's good to be back, trying to flex this muscle again. We got Carlos Machado coming up on the podcast in a couple weeks here, so keep your eye out for that. Happy Valentine's Day. Listen, make jiu-jitsu your Valentine's, but if you actually have a significant partner that expects something for Valentine's, you're probably not going to be able to do jiu-jitsu tomorrow unless you get up early and do it in the morning. Be disciplined. put your work in, and then go achieve the rest of your work-life balance. But put your fucking work in first. All right, that's all I got. We'll catch you guys next time.